Alright, so today I'm going to show you how to cut out vinyl. We're going to look at the complete workflow. First off, what we need to do is set up the vinyl cutter, and to get that started I'm going to jump over to this camera and try to do this with a cord attached to it. So there we go. Cool. So in most cases you're going to have the vinyl already installed, but just in case you don't have that, this lever right here, if you press it down, allows you to rotate it out the back. Okay? And then you can switch colors if you need to. Let's say you just want to load a new roll. You load it from the back, and then you position it so you can see these wheels right here. Okay, so what I want to do is position it by sliding it just a little bit on this side. You can, as long as it's not, that lever in the back has not been engaged, you can also move this head and to see the other wheel. So you can see that this wheel is right in the same position as this one, and the material is under those wheels. Okay, very easy introduction to vinyl. Now if you ever needed a bigger roll, this wheel must be over this blue bar. You can move the wheel too, but it must be positioned over the blue bar. And this one has a longer blue bar. That means you can move this one back and forth. So this is your stationary one, and this one moves back and forth depending upon what roll, because you can see that you could position this one way over here and then move it back and forth, and you can have larger rolls of vinyl. In this case I just have a small roll, a 13-inch roll, so I would make sure that this is over the top of it, okay, and that the vinyl is positioned just like that. And then once all that is positioned correctly, then I can lift this lever back up and choose 1 on the menu. You can see it says roll 1 front edge. Now it's positioned itself at the start origin of this page, which is 0. Okay, cool. Now we're ready to send a file. Alright, so I left the computer in the worst case scenario. I left it open with the software kind of all botched up and this cutting master open, everything else. This is the atypical state that it's usually in when a student uses it for vinyl. So let's kind of look at it, how we can get it back. The first thing when you do, you approach the vinyl cutting machine, is you need to close out this application called Cutting Master 4. So right click on it and hit quit. There might be another thing called a plugin. You will have to also close it. So you can close both. A good way to do this is Option on the keyboard, right click, here's force quit, which really does a good job of just force quitting everything. So Option on the keyboard, right click. Then I will close out anything that a student has open. Alright, so let's look at our first steps. First, we find a file. It could be an AI or a SVG, scalable vector graphic. That's what the SVG stands for. We identify if it can be cut. Okay, we do that by going to View and going to Outline. If you see an outline over the areas that you want cut, it's 100% correct. If you do not see this, then there was something that you missed inside the workflow. So let's go to View and go to Preview to get back. So it doesn't matter where this is on the page, because when I go to cut it, it's going to give it or put it into a different software packet called Cutting Master. So let's go File, Cutting Master 4, Cut and Plot. Alright, so this is the atypical position that it's in all the time. It's in the wrong one. So roll is what is in the machine, but the media is not 24 inches. So the first button we need to press here is this pole size. This will go in, look at the roll, find out what size it is, and automatically change it for you. Alright, we don't want to change the job size, but here is the area that we could do that, either proportionally or unproportionally. We can also do fit to media if we wanted a bigger one, but I do not want to do that. I want to keep it the size it is. The position is the same way if I went like this. You can see that position changing. Okay, so you can do it numerically, or you can move it just by going like that. I can also make copies if I needed to. This area is highly wasted, so I would highly suggest, getting a document with all the shapes rather than just one. That way you don't waste vinyl. I'm going to make 2 more copies just for educational purposes. Alright, when I have everything laid out like that, since this is just an introduction to it, I'm going to hit send. And you can see it starts up the vinyl cutter. Cuts out the material. When it is done, however, it doesn't cut the material off and give it to you. So that's what you have to do. First you press the jog button, which is this keyboard. So I'm going to jog it forward. I'm going to identify where the top of my graphic is, which is right there. And there's a little trench. This trench allows you to put your knife in there. Okay, so I'm going to get it past that trench and then position my knife inside that trench, an X-Acto knife, and just slide it across. And do this slowly, taking care that you don't cut into the machine. You want to put your thing inside this groove, not into the machine. And there we go. That's how you cut vinyl on the vinyl cutter. Alright, so now we're looking at the weeding process, a very simple process, but I'll cover it via the video too. So what I'm doing here is taking a corner, I'm taking a razor blade very carefully. I'm just separating. Okay, no pressure, I'm just kind of rotating the knife to crack open so I can peel away the larger piece of vinyl. And this is a pretty easy step, but what I like to do is kind of like as I'm peeling it, I'm kind of wadding it up in my fist like that. Okay, now if we needed to apply this to a surface, we'll take one of these stickers and I'll cut it. Okay, this is a sticker I want. And you're going to look for a roll. looks like this. It's transparent. And I've already kind of got it ready to cut. It's about the same size as this sticker. And what I'm going to do is cut a piece of this clear. Just like that. Okay. Then what I do is I apply the sticky side down to the vinyl. And if something small like this is really simple, you could just use your hand. If it's something bigger, we have a squeegee that we use. And then what you do is you can remove it just like that. So this is ready to apply to something. All right, well, what can you apply it to? This is where I kind of like use maybe a light table. Okay, in this case I want to apply it to maybe that sticker. This is just an example, mind you. This is an assignment that I gave out, is to develop a sticker that fits exactly. And you got to be very careful not to apply it. You see how, if you're not careful, you could accidentally ruin your work. And then you have to kind of peel that off. So you kind of got 1 or 2 shots to apply this sticker. It's a dexterity crunch for students, but I want to show you that it can be done. What you do want to not do is do that, because if you do it too hard, it's going to rip the paper. If you do it too soft, it's going to not stick. So there's a balance if you're doing this on paper that I really love students to do, because if you can do it right, it'll apply just fine. But there is a balance, and it does take a little bit of dexterity when it comes down to it. Once you have the majority of it stuck, then it's just doing that. There we go. And that's why I chose paper as the media, because it can be applied, but it takes a little bit of patience. You can see because of that. So if you see something like this, I wouldn't accept that. You would have to do it over. All right, cool. So that's how you do a sticker, how you stick it onto a surface of a material using the weeding process. Enjoy.